One of the most critical things in the work of a board is the board chair and CEO relationship, and often it gets overlooked. And the number one relationship for determining the effectiveness of that board is the board chair CEO relationship. It's an alliance, it's a partnership that needs to be guarded, needs to be developed and nurtured.
I believe that my relationship with Mark is one that I know that he wants me to succeed, that he's not there just to point out, you're doing this wrong, or I don't like how this is running, or I think you should be doing this. He doesn't want my job. I mean, he said that many times. He's got a company to run, he doesn't want that, but he wants me to succeed. So it's, what do you need from me? And I feel like that has brought down walls, and that has opened up communication and trust to where I know someone's got my back and that someone wants me to succeed in order for the mission to be carried out to all of our constituents.
Attributes of effectiveness between a board chair and CEO are number one, the baseline. Both have a deep love and commitment to the ministry or the nonprofit, and they believe in the value of the cause. That's kind of a given. Shouldn't even be at the board table if that's not a given.
I'm probably more involved at the school than board chairman of the past. I love being around here. I also love being around Greg and the faculty here. So I'll pop in every once in a while just to see what's going on, or update me with maybe with situational awareness, or else we'll just chat.
There needs to be a personal investment in the board chair and CEO with each other. Now that might look different for different people, but certainly things like praying together is a good thing. There's something that just takes us deeper. Also, just having a regular check-in time, whether that's a face-to-face, whether it's a phone call, but a flow of communication that isn't always about the transactions of the board.
In any relationship, there's going to be those rocky times. You can't say, oh, everything's just roses. But one thing that I love about working in a Christian environment is, first and foremost, we can take those situations to prayer. Because on our own, me as a superintendent, or Mark as a board chairman, on our own, we can't handle everything.
There's a common understanding that board chairs and CEOs need to have. One, they need to understand how authority is going to work between the two of them. That shows up in simple ways, just how are meetings facilitated, how are issues discussed, and what would be the interplay back and forth between them. It's good to talk those things through ahead of time. Even on specific issues, it's good to have a little bit of a dress rehearsal conversation.
If we are going to be successful in the calling that we have to be superintendent and board chairman, that we have to make sure that we are channeling the right information through the right avenues. And for Greg, I need to make sure I'm talking to Greg and channeling information that I need to get to his people through him. He needs to be able to pass that down to his people. And so there's no agenda, there's no agenda for me to try to get things through behind his back. I want it to all go through him. If we're not on the same page, we shouldn't be working together.
A CEO, one of the greatest gifts he can give to a board chair is make sure that if there's a difficult issue that the board's going to become aware of, that the CEO is the first one to the board chair delivering the message. A good friend of mine said, make sure you deliver the bad news first and quickly if you're a CEO. That really builds trust to make sure that there's no surprises.
I think Greg and I are both very much alike in the fact that we hit problems head on. And we're not going to let things grow under our feet as far as problems and get bigger. So when a situation comes up, if I know about it, we call it situational awareness, and I'll call him immediately if there's something going on. And we'll discuss through it before I take it to my board even.
There's three strands that board chairs and CEOs need to really guard. Number one is the mission, and everybody kind of gets that one. Let's stay on focus, let's stay on course, let's make sure we're doing, let's be who God's called us to be.
The mission is so important, and we learned that through the Murdoch Foundation, how important the mission is, but we have written that up and put it at the forefront of all of our packets for the board, and we repeat it quite often around here. If we're dealing with a tough situation, the mission brings us back to where we need to be going as a board and as a school.
The second strand would be stewardship, or some people might use the word sustainability. But stewardship is basically, is the way we're going about this work sustainable and repeatable over time? And are we positioned well to do that? Are we staying in the kind of planning cycles that we need to really address our key issues?
We took that information as a God-given gift from Murdoch. It was not something that we could take lightly. We felt like we are stewards of this information. And so we came back home and started immediately working on a plan of how we put this together. And we have put board packets together with detailed information that we can pass on to board members down the road. So we're not just hoarding this information, swallowing it, and then it just dissolves into nothing. We want to make sure this information goes for generations beyond us.
The third issue, the most overlooked issue, but the most important, is unity. A board that speaks with one voice. So they may deliberate rigorously on an issue, but a board that comes out with one voice on a decision and stands together, that increases the likelihood of the ministry's effectiveness exponentially.
I'm not a yes man, they're not yes men and women, but that we work collectively to then, when we leave the board meetings, that we're united. Even if the vote is, 8-1 or 7-2, that we're a united front, that we come out and we decide this is what's best for Nampa Christian Schools, and then we go out and they support me.
And so if the board chair and the board organization CEO, if they really get their head around these three, mission, stewardship, and unity, and say these things all need to be flowing as an integrated whole, then they are really helping the board capture something that will have great returns for what they're trying to do.